Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. I start by acknowledging the one that gives us life and existence, who uses every moment as an opportunity to disclose itself to us, and I respond with thanks. Thanks for every opportunity that we are invited to learn about him. Indeed, it's the greatest blessing, it's the greatest gift, and it's an invitation. So alhamdulillah for hearing that call and responding to that call. I start with a beautiful dua from the Quran in Surah 3 Al-Imran. ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي للإيمان أن آمنوا بربكم فآمنا ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. Our Rabb, our sustainer, nourisher, provider, educator. Indeed, we have heard a call calling us to Iman, to belief. And Aminu bi Rabbikum, to have Iman in our Rabb, fa'amanna. So we respond with Iman. Rabbana faghfir lana. So, dear Rabb, forgive us our shortcomings. وَكَفِّرْ عَنَّا سَيِّئَاتِنَا, and cover our shortcomings. وَتَوَفَّنَا مَعَ الْأَبْرَارِ, and take our souls in the company of the pious or righteous. Ameen. لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا. There is no knowledge except that what he teaches. إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Indeed, you are the all-knowing, the most wise. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Peace and blessings on the messenger who brought the message, alayhi salatu wassalam, and everyone who follows his path until the last day. Ameen. So, thanks to Allah for Dr. Yamina and the Receiving Nur team, who on their website, receivingnur.org, share a deep tafsir of Surat El Fatiha. And this is where everything that I'm sharing has been taken. Just a short summary, and the question that we're exploring since last week is, how can we live with the gems of Surat Al Fatiha? Last week we talked about the Quran, the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ says that Al Fatiha Ummul Kitab, the mother of the book, or the summary of the book. So if we think about how deep that is, it means that everything that the Quran is teaching us to live by can be condensed or summarized into these beautiful 7 meanings. So last week we talked about Bismillah. We are going to review, and I hope, inshallah, we have time to get into the second ayah. Bismillah. Bi is by means of. Ism is the name or quality, descriptor of God. Okay, there's a lot happening in the chat. Let me see. Oh, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Yay, Lily, Jalila, good to see you all. Recently mentioned how just trying to live with Bismillah in our relationships is a sufficient teaching that takes significant practice. Bismillah is very comprehensive. And Bism, we talked about Bismillah versus Billah, right? Bismillah is what connects me. Bih is the connector. Ism is what connects me to my creator. Bismillah is the total true guidance, and it leads us to Al-Rahman Al-Rahim. So Bismillah is like the secret, sir. There's many layers and layers of secrets in this beautiful phrase, and it will be revealed to us in time. My cousin, after last week's halaqah, was like, this seems like such a hard thing. Like, it seems like it's going to take us a long time to be able to follow this guidance. And it's life's journey. And it's the journey of 1,000 veils, or basically like being able to uncover these veils and discover the names as we live in ourselves, in relationships with others, through events, through the world. This is the journey. Alhamdulillah, we have constant reminders through the Quran, constant reminders. Every time we fall off track, something happens, a feeling brings us right back. Bismillah is repeated so often in the Quranic teachings, in our practical life, before we eat, before we drink, before we start something. Why? Because it's something we really need. Anytime something is repeated, it's because there's a message in it that we really need. Bismillah is both a prayer, a dua, and a reminder, like, oh yeah, let me get back in that state. And it's also like, help me see your name. But when we say it, we should remember something. So saying it just on the tongue is not enough, which is usually how we're taught initially. We should be reminded of something that will not cut us off from God. Remember last week we talked about the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ said, anything that doesn't start with Bismillah is abtar, either devoid of barakah or disconnected or cut off from all good. So we talked about there's two ways to practice living with Bismillah, or two means of practicing Bismillah. I actually was reflecting on this, and inshallah we'll make it a little bit more expansive this time, but through the universe is the question is the most important thing. And unfortunately, somehow in our institutionalized education, we learn not to question. We learn labels. We learn this is a flower, this is a tree, this is water. This water enters your, satiates you. And we learn all these systematic things that remove the question, remove the awe, remove the wonder. And the Quran calls the human being to rouse that sense or waken that sense, to be like, well, how does this water come? So looking at the universe and really asking the question and waking up that sense. I was saying how lucky I am to have a small child around me, because I see that awe and it reminds me like, wow, how does this thing fly? What is this weird flying creature? It literally like it pops out of nowhere and it's just moving everywhere. Or this liquid that just somehow we drink it and we get what we need. How is that even possible? And I'm reminded of our session with Receiving Nur. That was a few days last week. That was talking about how can we be mindful when we eat. And I'm just going to share that we're all getting ready to eat, inshallah, soon. So before you eat, take a few slow, deep breaths. It's so important. Slowing down is everything. In order to make this a practice, I'm finding in my life what Sister Yamina recommended was setting a timer for 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 times a day, and just listen to your breathing and feel a sense of gratitude to the one taking care of you and everything. Slowing down is how we start to see the signs. Take a few breaths before you eat. Look at the colors. Look at how perfectly your hand works to prepare the food and do all this. It's like, really, it's such a blessing. All these different flavors. The tongue is made in a way just so it can taste different things. And why? And we talked about the ayah last week that says, مَتَاعًا لَكُمْ وَلِأَنْعَامِكُمْ, for your enjoyment, so that you can enjoy. So one conduit, let's say, one conduit to practice Bismillah is looking at the universe. What do we use most in the universe? Food and water, right? And if you have somewhere like the beach in front of you, or trees in front of you, or birds in front of you, or just being outside somewhere that's not like too city-like, that you can't really see much life, then there's plenty to reflect on. The second thing is relationships, and this is a challenge, right? We talked last week about When something we don't like happens, then we see, how could this person do that? Why did this person do this? How could this person behave this way? And all of a sudden we snap out of Bismillah and we're like, look what she did. Look what he did. How could they do this? Why are they yelling? I don't like that. So one aspect is looking at the person as the doer. And Dr. Yamina has this wonderful reminder, which we talked about before, that there's two sides of the same coin. Either you're seeing the person and the event, or you're seeing the face that points to God. So we say Bismillah, take a pause, right? Walk away. Like, how can we, or you didn't pause and you did say he, she, and you fell out of it, and then you can come right back with astaghfirullah. So, or there's someone that you really like, right? Relationship, someone that you think is so sweet and they're so kind, and you say, wow, this person is so nice. I love what they taught me. I love how nice they are. They're so nice. But then we snap out of Bismillah again. Because what are you doing? You're, oh, assalamu, my teacher. And you're seeing the person like, I'm the one sharing, I'm the one teaching, or she's the one that's really nice, or he's the one that was so generous with me. And then we have to pause. Where was this sense given to them? This sense of generosity, the sense of kindness. We only find this stuff engineered in our system the way a laptop is already made with everything inside of it. Astaghfirullah. So we give the person the credit, but then we can come back and say astaghfirullah, and then you love that person, Bismillah, for being the connector to ism, the quality of your creator. So instead of loving your husband for being a good husband, or your wife for being a good wife, or your mother, or your brother, or sister, or kids, and then remember, there's an ayah of the Quran that none of you really believe until you love God and His Messenger more than anyone else. What does that mean? Everything is just a reflection of God and His message, but it's only if we can live Bismillah. Oh, here's another one that, mashallah, was shared with Brother Faraz, who also shares through the Receiving Nur team. When we talked about relationships, like when somebody asks you to do something, or if someone needs you a lot, it's very easy to fall into like, oh, like I got to do more stuff. Like I'm already tired. Like, so when someone's asking you for something, if you think you're the doer, you'll easily get burnt out very quickly. But when you find it as a call, what's a call? Okay, somebody's asking me to do something. So there's like a doorbell that's ringing, or a call that's asking me to help. So I find this call for help. I can respond by Bismi Sarah, in the name of Sarah, the helper. Or I can realize, okay, this call is coming. Sami'na munadi. We hear a caller calling, and I'm going to respond back in the name of the helper. And this way I find help flowing through me. If I say Bismillah, if I feel Bismillah, then I find help flowing through me. So I'm not the doer. And I don't feel like I'm the doer. And it's only when we feel I'm the doer, he's the doer, she's the doer, that alignment falls out of place, and then you don't feel peace. Mashallah. Like, thank God that we don't feel peace when we do that, right? Because that feeling that doesn't feel like either you're burnt out, you get stressed about something, something bothers you, is another alarm, like something's wrong, you're doing something wrong in your perception and you're thinking again, to bring you back. Events. This is something I caught myself doing during the week. A lot of times I'm like, we use past events to predict something that's going to happen. So we say, oh no, that's not going to work, or this time is not usually good because at this time he's usually cranky, it's not going to work, or basically how something worked before, you expect it's going to repeat itself again, instead of what Dr. Yamina and the retreats have shared in the past is like, and mashallah, why don't we use Bismillah as a reminder to look for a miracle and expect a miracle by means of the owner of everything? So I just caught myself being like, oh no, this time is not going to work. He's going to be so cranky. And I'm already projecting this reality. And then I was like, astaghfirullah. I actually found him being perfect. Everything was not what I expected. It went so much better because I didn't have this like chatter in my mind that I was believing, or like it ends up being like a dua. It's like, it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work. And then you find that that really happened. And people say now, my friend and I were talking, like, you say, whatever is in your mind manifests into reality. And it's true, whatever you feel inside, you end up seeing in the reality. So Bismillah is a new moment. Every moment is brand new. And Bismillah is like, I'm expecting a miracle. I'm expecting to see it. The final way, so we talked about the universe, events, in yourself. I don't like when he does that. I don't like when she does that. I'm so sad about this. I'm so mad about this. We find endless feelings coming. All of a sudden, somebody's doing something and you like, I don't like that. There's something that happens that is about to take you out of your state of consciousness. And if you own that feeling, you will find yourself disconnected and out of alignment, no longer in your state of peace. Dr. Yamina, mashallah, said something recently in one of our classes last week that's, whenever I think it's my need, I'm in the state of panic. Like earlier today, I found yelling and chaos happening around me, and I'm just like, I just got so frustrated and I couldn't handle that situation. And then when I walked away, a reminder came to me that was like, I need peace. And then I was able to be like, okay, I calmed down, because it wasn't like, I don't like this. When I snapped into I mode, it was just like I found myself tense and like, roar. But then when I found that feeling was translated into a need, I find myself needing peace. And then what do you see? Immediate calm, because it's not my need anymore. I don't own it. If I own it, then I panic because I have to take care of it, and I actually can't change the situation. So a practical tip for the week for Bismillah is, instead of saying I feel or I am, then we remind the words I find myself. I find myself happy when this, or I find myself upset. So when you find yourself, then it's like, it's not me anymore. I'm seeing it. I'm finding it somewhere inside of me. What does it mean? And with an open heart that's peaceful or calm, then that answer comes. It says, I need X. Whenever you have the need, it's a key to the name. I need peace. Allahumma anta salam. You're the source of peace. And then, voila, there's the recipe for success. All right. Also, something beautiful that I didn't mention last week, I wanted to mention, is liking or disliking something. We think it's me. I don't like when this is happening. I like this. And here we are existing now. And we're not existing Bismillah. We're existing Bismi Sarah, Bismi whoever. And people say, oh, I love flowers. I love this. I like this. I don't like that. And here we are. It's like this I-based society. But when you say, I find myself liking X, really, where does that come from? Whoever created me must like X and is displaying X to me. مَتَاعًا لَكُمْ وَلِأَنْعَامِكُمْ, for your enjoyment. The same with dislike. I don't like when people are rude. I don't like when people are oppressive. I don't like, okay, so my creator does not like that. I was thinking about it though, because sometimes I don't like things that I don't have control over that are happening. Oh, the child's not sleeping well, or blah, blah, blah. What does that mean? So maybe we dislike something out of our own haste. Remember, we're very impatient, or I'm very impatient. So you want something to look a certain way at a certain time. You want to be with your loved ones. And that's not the reality of the world. You don't get to control how things happen. So I was reminded that sometimes we just don't like something because of our own impatience. And then what? So you need patience. You need peace. You need wisdom. You need guidance to see, why is it the way it is? And then again, you can transform that I situation into a prayer, which is what I found in the Quran in my readings last week. That prayer that I started with, رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لَنَا. There was a group of people facing a calamity, and they found the guidance shares. They were patient. And their words, وَمَا قَوْلُهُمْ إِلَّا, their words were only, the Quran says, رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لَنَا ذُنُوبَنَا وَإِسْرَافَنَا فِي أَمْرِنَا. forgive us our shortcomings, and our going, like, being in excess, like exceeding our limits. And I'm like, wow, actually in the passage it said nothing about them exceeding their limits. It said nothing that they didn't even do anything wrong. All it says that they were patient, um, and that their words were only رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لَنَا ذُنُوبَنَا وَإِسْرَافَنَا فِي أَمْرِنَا وَثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَنَا, and make our feet firm. So I'm like, okay, I wrote it down. So I'm like, that's the recipe for success when we find ourselves being hasty and needing patience. So there you are. The Quran offers another gem. And I've used it this week when I found myself getting irritated, and I found, like, wow, okay, that was a nice way to come back. Found myself drifting and come back to Bismillah. The same way people say, oh, I'm so thankful. Really? No, thanks is flowing through you. Bismillah ash-shakur. The one who gives, the one who owns gratitude, that's flowing through you. So you're a channel. This is a month of giving charity. So we think we're the givers, but actually wanting to give is a sense that goes to you. Some people teach, like, oh, when you give for the sake of God, that means just give and do it for like a good cause and do it for God. But I'm still the one giving for God. Whereas this approach through receiving Nur and also from Islam from within, I have gained this insight that, and everyone who's been following our group knows that giving flows through me. And it's a gift to give because you remember the one that gives is the one that gives you life, and that this being is infinite. And whenever you connect to the infinite, that's it. لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. There's no fear on them. You never grieve. You don't worry about getting poor, or I don't want to give because I only have this much, and you're counting. There's no fear now because you just connected yourself to the infinite. Nothing belongs to you anyway. So, and then, mashallah, Dr. Yamina shared, like, whenever you give, whenever you act truly Bismillah, and you notice the name of God is just moving you, flowing through you, then immediately your response is like, thank you. Thank you for showing me you. Thank you for showing me who you are. Alhamdulillah. So this is a cycle. Bismillah is going to be a constant thing that we're going to experience again and again and again. It reminds me of tawaf, right, around the Kaaba. Like, there's a center point that represents La ilaha illallah. And on this Hajj pilgrimage, remember, everything is interconnected. Prayer, fasting, charity, pilgrimage, everything has a message for us to learn. And it's this cycle that we're learning now through Bismillah that melts the eye. Bismillah is a beautiful reminder that again and again will remind us to see how the Creator reveals itself through us and through the universe around us. Okay, now. The name in this first passage is Allah, the source of existence. So it's not Bismi Rabbi, right? We talked about the first ayah that was revealed was Iqra Bismi Rabbik. Read in the name of your sustainer, or the one that teaches you. This one's Bismillah. In the name of the infinite, the source of everything. This everything points to the whole universe. And through Bismillah, once we see, again, we saw like the universe, relationships, ourselves, events that are happening, we see that the whole universe is teaching you the same message, and everything is connected all together. And when we live by the first ayah, then automatically your heart says what? When you see someone's giving you so much, immediately, like automatically you find Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah is all praise, is due, belongs to. Rabb now is used. The sustainer, we'll go through the word more deep. Al-Alameen, which is translated as all the words, all the worlds. So now the second ayah is repeated again and again and again and again and again in the Quran. This concept of praise God, praise God. So it must be something again that I really need because it's repeated a lot. I was reminded of the ayah in chapter 76, which is human being, Surat Al-Insan, ayah 3. It says, Inna hadaynahu sabila imma shakiran aw imma kafura. We have guided him to the path of either being, so he's either grateful, shakir, or imma kafura, ungrateful, or covering the blessing, covering the name. Which is the truth about how we live on a moment-to-moment basis, right? If we stay a little bit away from his name in a moment, you jump back into I mode, or you jump back into he, she mode, or you jump back into, you find pain, stress, uneasiness, not feeling good, a hunger. And that hunger is something that says, hey, like, I'm calling you back to me, right? Now, the second ayah uses a new name. Lily was asking me, like, what is this, like, different names are constantly being, sometimes it's sustainer, sometimes it's creator, sometimes it's God, which is all a sign, it's an ayah, bringing our attention to something else in our education process. So now in ayah 2, it's Rabb. Rabba is a verb in the Quran. It's a Quranic Arabic verb, which means to raise, like Rabba is used to raise children. It has the meaning of foster, bringing up, nourishing, taking good care of, being a guardian, disposer, regulator, orderer. This is a relationship now, it's calling me, Rabb. You need this relationship. You need to see this relationship. You need to feel this relationship in order to keep you in a state of peace. The English translation is simply Lord, but you can see how the Arabic is so full of meaning. Alhamdulillahi Rabb. Rabb is the word. He's the one that raises everything, sustains with all of its components. And it reminds me of the analogy that's used a lot in our teachings is the womb, rahim, which is the words that we're going to see again in ayah 3, ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The root word of those two attributes that God is calling us to see is related to this concept of womb. Womb is a beautiful analogy to see this name Rabb very clear. You see in a womb someone's protected and they're taken care of and they're sustained and they're fed and they're growing and they're being taught in their own way, like hearing is given and then seeing is given, and so this world is like the womb for all of us, and it's so incredible if you actually think about, like, this earth is a dome and we're being held in it. And you look at this concept of a woman having being pregnant and having this womb, and something that we can directly experience, to think that when you step outside you're actually in a womb. You're not like, oh, in this atmosphere, they call atmosphere, oh, it's just wind, it's just oxygen, it's just the first these are what the science books teach, right? But the Quran is saying, no, you're actually in the womb of Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Rabb al-Alameen, the one who's holding you in this sphere of embrace and protection and guidance. So immediately, what does that make you feel? Calm. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the first verse, the one they say Ar-Rahman is, we'll go through more. I didn't want to get too much into those names in the first verse because we're going to repeat them again in the third. But this concept of love, mercy, forgiveness, we talked a little bit last week. What does that mean? Calm down. Don't panic. Everything is okay. And we need to feel calm in order to receive Quran. Quran means speech directly from the source, not just through the book or through the speech, but also through everything, through our feelings, through the speaking universe. So Rabb al-Alameen, now Al-Alameen is used. Okay, so this world, so the whole part, let me rewind a little bit. Tarbiyah. This whole world is our tarbiyah. It's our, and Surat Al Fatiha is also our tarbiyah. It's our university. It's teaching us. The universe is a university, we said last week, and when we die is our graduation. You get a degree based on how much you learned, and the only purpose of this university is to disclose what? Bismillah. The names of the one who made you, your origin and your return. So do we feel that we are one coexistence with our fellow universe, our creation, our trees, our leaves? I'm remembering somebody like trying to make a joke that's in this group actually that is like, oh, you think the leaves are like this big deal, but really everything is amazing. And why is it amazing? Because we came from the same being, and there has to be like something inside that pulls you to this feeling. When we find that, like Dr. Ali says, it's not just all Muslims that are one ummah. Ummah is the word used in the Quran for a brotherhood or a sisterhood. It's not just all humans, right? But it's all existence together, which is so deep. We have one source altogether. We're made from the same one altogether. And we have something inside that points to that one altogether. So I wanted to pull up this image because now the word that we're going to study in the second verse is Al-Alameen, which is translated simply as the worlds in English. But Dr. Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, once shared, and I've never forgotten, mashallah, because it was so deep. And I'm unfortunately I wasn't able to connect so that you guys could see an image, but I'm going to share it on my phone so you guys could just see that the world, the universe, right? When I say world, I mean universe, is a prism. A prism is something, if you guys can see like this is actually like a rainbow here. But when light shines on it, all of a sudden, there's so much that happens on the other side. I'm going to just look at a different image. It's a really wonderful, it captures what this world is. Here's another image. So light shines on the prism, and then so much comes out of it. The world is a prism. Al-Alam, Al-Alam, we say Rabb al-Alameen. Al-Alam means that by which one knows. It comes from the word ilm. The world is a means of knowing. The one that creates the world as a prism makes it in a way that it discloses all of its names. Whatever it is that brought us into existence made us and the universe like a prism. What I like about this image of the prism is, okay, so in this image you see it's only hitting one direction. And this is only a simple triangle, right? Like clearly the earth is not like that. And we are much more dynamic than a simple triangle. But no matter where you hit the light, every single point on this will give abundant, like literally infinite light on the other side. What the rainbow points to in this is all the infinite qualities of the maker. the more that we start seeing ourselves like this transparent thing here, you see, it has no shape, no color, it's just a transparent thing. Then we see how this light is just flowing through us, and you see abundant, whoever gave us this soul or this spirit is shining immense qualities. And only when we shine light or discover them by not owning them, then we start to live Bismillah in the name of all of those different colors, right? All those different names. And then the more we start to see other people like prisms, and we're prisms, and the bird is a prism, and the trees are a prism, and everything is just, it becomes this like, subhanAllah, it's so beautiful. May Allah inspire us with the meaning of how to really live in a way that witnesses God, so that we don't call the ocean just the ocean, or the waves just the waves, or the bird just the bird, but we start to really look at everything with a more reflective heart. So Al-Alamin is plural, right? Al-Alam, we just said, is the means of making something known. Al-Alamin is plural. And Dr. Yamina shared that Nursi, who we shared, is the author of the text, the words that was used and referenced. I'll put it again in the description box. If you guys come back, we read from it last week, and it's a very beautiful text to read from. That Al-Alamin is plural because all the worlds and all the components of the world are consciously glorifying God. The Quran calls this glorification of the world malakut, the angelic side. So when the Quran uses the word angels, it's not like these flying creatures, but the meaning that's glorifying God, that's put in everything. But how do we hear it? How do we interact with it? Clearly, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen is now asking me to see something in Al-Alameen. And it's something that I interact with all the time, so it's something that I need to see, right? How do we hear this glorification? What is it? What is the glorification saying? How do we interact with it? And exactly, we need to question first. No question, no answer, right? That's Dr. Ali's famous saying, and it's very, very true. So we learn from the Prophet, the Messenger, Muhammad, alayhi salatu wasalam, Rasulullah says, used to go to the cave often. So where is your space of reflection? Is it something that you do often? Even if it's, I know of Sister Maha from our group says, like, go for at least one walk a day, or at least take some time, whether it's going to be a seated reflection or a walking reflection, or at least do them both, but without making this a hal, charging, like the way we have to charge our phones throughout the day to keep it alive. We need to make this practical in our lives in order for us to be able to live like this. Go to your space of reflection, go sit outside, watch the creation, question the creation. What's the purpose? How is it made? Why am I made? Who brought me here? Who brought this here? And if you're really sitting with those questions, the answers will come. And if the answers come, then you can read the creation. You'll start to see it as a prism, and you'll see what is being reflected, like that image beautifully shows. And this is how tanzil happens, a revelation happens. So we need tafakkur, we need tadabbur, and these are never discussed, but we need to sit and reflect. We say, I don't got time for that. No, you need to make time for that. Without making time for that, and I love Dr. Yamina's advice to put the alarm, because when the days that I don't follow the alarm and I just let it ring, I find that I'm less able to stay conscious or in alignment, and I find myself much more off track if I don't set an alarm. Figure out how you can set an alarm. This is how we can practically live with these gems. What does Al-Alameen say loud and clear? This is nearing the end. We're almost done. Thank you guys for being patient. What does Al-Alameen say loud and clear? The world is changing so fast. Every day we see a different weather. Instead of saying, oh, it's rainy, oh, it's cloudy, oh, it's sunny, like subhanallah, a new creation, a different change. It's changing and transforming very fast. Death is happening non-stop nowadays. I just got news of a grandmother in Egypt that's very beloved to me this morning that passed away. So there's this constant, death is the greatest, strongest reminder. Thank God for death, because it snaps you in your place so quick. And I'm so lucky to be able to share this with you all, because maybe you guys don't have someone who you love that's dying every day. SubhanAllah, I am just blessed with this opportunity to think about it very, very often. And why do we have to see? Why does the Quran constantly say, who's the one that changes the night into the day and the day into the night, and the shadow that's constantly changing, and the trees that die, then I bring them back to life and then they'll die again? Why? Why is this in Surat Al Fatiha? Why is this in the summary of something that we need to recite every day? Why is it something that we need to live by? What is so important about seeing Al-Aman constantly changing? Because if it was static, if it looked the same, then there would be a more comforting, settling feeling in it, a stable feeling in it. When we think it's stable, we inevitably fall into shirk. And shirk is the greatest unforgivable sin mentioned in the Quran, which is ascribing power to anything other than the source. Thinking that anything else is an actor or an agent other than the source. And this is something we're all doing non-stop, which is why this is our journey of life, to be constantly reminded. The Quran repeatedly warns against shirk, saying nothing is doing anything, including you. Power and ability is only by the real doer. Everything is coming from somewhere and returning somewhere. This world is so unstable. If you try to hold on to anything, anyone in it, you're bound to feel pain. And that pain is a reminder you're doing something wrong. You're holding on to the name of the person, and the person is just a prism, is only meant for one purpose, was only brought into your life for one reason. I was so upset when I learned that a young brother that was 34 passed away 2 days ago. And it just reminded me of my own brother, Allah yarhamu. And then that reminded me of my friend and his sister. And then that reminded me of their niece and her just mother. And then I just found myself feeling so sad. And the Quran, the prophetic message, asks us to remember death often. Why? Because then you remember how utterly helpless you are. Why do I need to know how utterly helpless I am? Why is death the greatest reminder of that? Because you realize you don't have even life. You are not even, you can do nothing. And it makes you just fall into the state of, when you feel so helpless, all you can do is proclaim, and these were the words used in our last halaqah together with receiving Nur. Proclaim your utter helplessness. Proclaim means just in a very beautiful way, with power. You say, I have absolutely no ability. This world has it's like a constant earthquake. When people see earthquakes, you see it on YouTube, they're just like falling, like, please God, because they realize how unstable it is. But truly, that's the nature of it nonstop. Our truest reality is that everything is completely dependent. This is Al-Aman. It is saying loud and clear that I have no stability. I'm constantly changing. I'm not permanent at all. The sun, you think it's gonna, oh, it's so beautiful, the sunset, boom, done. The sunset lasts like 2 minutes. It's over. Oh, what a pretty sunset. Try to capture it real quick. Done. Now it's dark. Over. Everything is over. Oh, I love my brother so much. Buried. Done. It's like a heartbreaking thing. It's only heartbreaking when we attach ourselves to the thing. When we realize how helpless we are and we say, only you have power and authority, then we find only relief. Why? Because this one is the owner of everything. And Dr. Yamina said that it seems like in our culture, we're taught that when we're needy and we feel helpless, it's a bad thing. No, be strong. You can do it. And we're taught like this, right? But truly feeling utterly helpless and vulnerable before God alone, not before creation, right? We're taught that only before God, you are utterly helpless and you only prostrate to God, not any of humankind. And then you find in that place of prostration the infinite power, the infinite love, the King of Kings, and you feel secure. You're like, okay, it's like getting back in that womb, but then you hop in it this time because you're like, I can't protect myself anyway. I can't protect nobody. Let me just hop right back into that belly, and where I know for sure that I am being taken care of with an umbilical cord and I have nothing to worry about. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. We're reminded, Inna awliya Allah la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. Indeed, the friends of God, there is no fear on them, nor do they worry. So we need to be deeply acquainted with the real nature of this world. Remember death often. It doesn't just have to be death of loved ones, although that's the strongest reminder. But also every moment is dying and it has no ability to stay. So then we realize and fall into prostration and say, you're the only one doing everything anyway. So we end by this final reminder that we will find this upcoming week ourselves drifting into a state that's not peace. When you find yourself drifting out of this state of peace, then notice that you're leaving the state of peace. Surrender, right? Because you can't control. It's like, I want peace all the time, but now I'm finding myself, here's the key word, I find myself leaving the state of peace. Surrender by saying, okay, I can't help myself right now. Somehow I strayed away. I did something wrong with my perception. I must have jumped back into I mode without realizing. So pause with that state of istighfar, with that humble state, and then we will find the name of Allah coming to us, inshallah. The final example is an example that was shared in one of our last groups, our halakas with Receiving Nur. A brother shared that his 7-year-old was saying that the moon doesn't have light. It just reflects light. So we're all moons. Nursi calls it mirror. Practically, you're either in a state of praising, alhamdulillah, because you see it, or istighfar, because you strayed away. That's seeking forgiveness. So whenever we find ourselves drifting, astaghfirullah, and you really, I like these du'as that were stated in the beginning. رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لَنَا ذُنُوبَنَا وَإِسْرَافَنَا فِي أَمْرِنَا. It says in the Quran, forgive us our shortcomings and our excess. Like we kind of exceeded our bounds. Like I'm only made, but I thought I was the doer for a second. وَثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَنَا. The verse ends, the ayah ends. Make firm our feet. وَثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَنَا وَانصُرْنَا عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الْكَافِرِينَ. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. May Allah help us live with these 2 verses. If anybody has any questions, feel free to type them. Otherwise, I will just make dua that we can all begin to live and renew our intention to live with these 2 ayats.